There used to be a time when everybody smoked in the office. There also used to be a time where everybody worked 9 to 5. And there also used to be a time when, as a company, if you had a job that you wanted to fill, you would put up the job posting, and one by one, these prospective candidates would show up at your company, and they would try to convince you why they should work for you. They would talk about their wonderful accomplishments and their skills and where they went to school and all these amazing things about themselves. But today we live in a very different world. Most people don't smoke in the office anymore. We don't work 9 to 5 largely anymore, and that's been replaced by work-life integration. And today, when you have a job that you want to fill, what we start to see is that these candidates are now asking you the questions. They're now asking you, what is it like to work here? What technologies am I going to be using? What's your leadership style like? And so what that means is that it's now you as the organization that has to convince people why they should work for you. And that's a very, very different way for us to think about work. It's not something that a lot of people are used to doing.
I learned something absolutely insane today. 96% of the people who watch videos on this channel are not subscribed. Are you one of those people? Please make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. It'll take you 1 second. It helps me a lot, and you'll get access to more videos just like this one.
Now, traditionally, how did companies convince people to work for them? There were typically 2 things that organizations have done. The first thing that organizations do is they always tell a very compelling story about what it's like to work there. They always like to say, oh, we have an amazing company, the managers love you, we have amazing technologies, it's great. And then when the employees start working there, they find out that none of that is true. I like to think of this as the online dating problem. Now, if you've ever tried online dating, you'll know that sometimes the person whose profile you see online and the person who shows up to the date is not the same person. We always want to make ourselves look better on paper than we really are. And companies do the same thing. On paper, they always want to make themselves sound amazing and wonderful. But the reality when employees start working there is they find that it's not true. Pretend for a minute if you just had to be completely honest about what it was like to work at your company. And when somebody showed up during the job interview, they asked you, what is it like to work here? And you said, well, instead of working 40 hours a week, you're probably going to work 60. You have to commute an hour to work, an hour back from work. We have technologies that were designed in the 70s and the 80s. You have to sit in a cubicle. Your managers are going to take credit for all of your work. You want to work here? Nobody's going to say yes to that. So instead, we paint this wonderful picture of what our organizations are like. But again, it's just not true. Now, the second thing that a lot of organizations do around the world is they invest in something known as employee engagement programs. This is how most people think about employee engagement programs. They think of it as an adrenaline shot. So what do I mean when I say an adrenaline shot? Now, I think we can agree that on day 1, when somebody starts working at your company on the first day, nobody ever shows up on the first day saying, this place is terrible. Doesn't happen. On the first day, everyone is very excited to be there. They want to know who they're going to be working with, what projects they're going to be working on. On day 1, everyone is genuinely excited to be a part of your organization. But then, slowly, through outdated workplace practices and bureaucracy and outdated ways of thinking, our employee satisfaction starts to go down. And then, after it goes down, the company says, hey, guess what? We need to invest in employee engagement. And so they get a bunch of HR people together and they say, hey, HR, how do we get our employees to be happier again? And the HR team thinks about it for a little bit and they say, oh, we have a brilliant idea. Let's give them hot yoga on Tuesdays. And guess what? It works for a little bit. And our satisfaction goes up, and it stays like that for a little bit. But then again, outdated workplace practices, bureaucracy, hierarchy, all these outdated ways of thinking, and our satisfaction goes back down. And then again, it goes back down, and we say, well, what else can we do for our employees? We gave them hot yoga. Can we do anything else? And so HR comes together again and they say, who has a good idea? how do we get our employees to be happy again? And somebody else says, why don't we give them free food on Friday? Brilliant idea. And guess what? Our satisfaction goes up again. So when I say that most companies think about employee engagement as an adrenaline shot, that's what I mean. In other words, there aren't any core changes to the workplace practice. The company is still the same. Technology is the same. Leadership is the same. Working there is the same. The office is the same. Everything is the same, but now you just get free food. And now you get hot yoga. And so you get happy temporarily, but it doesn't last. Now, in psychology, there is a concept known as the Hedonic Treadmill. Some of you may have heard of this. And the theory states that as humans, we are very good at adapting to stuff. And so, as an employee, if you show up to work one day and you see that you have free food, you're going to say, oh, that's pretty cool. But then a month will go by, 2 months will go by, 3 months will go by, and then you're going to show up to work and you're going to think, of course I should have free food. Why shouldn't I have free food? What else can you do for me? And so what happens is organizations are constantly stuck trying to give their employees more things. How do we make them happier? How do we give them more stuff? And that is the problem. Pretend for a minute that you were in a relationship with somebody only because they gave you nice things. What happens when one day they don't give you nice things anymore? You leave, and the same thing is happening inside of companies. We're so obsessed with giving employees perks and shiny new objects all the time that when we can't do it anymore, employees start to leave. So instead, what we need to do is to create an environment where employees actually want to show up. So if employee engagement is the short-term adrenaline shot, employee experience is the long-term change focusing on the core workplace practices of your company.